Government Information Service. I am Alicia Ali, and to my far right is my GIS colleague Marilyn Hyacinth, and we also have our RSL 97 colleague Kiba Taliam. Welcome ladies, welcome viewers, and welcome listeners.
Good morning, Alicia. Good morning, Marilyn. And we, at this point, await with great anticipation the arrival of the Governor General, of course, to make the throne speech for today. And referring to the schedule of events for today, at 9:45 a.m. we have the seating of invitees. At 10 a.m. we have the formal House of Assembly meeting. At 10:30 a.m. we have the formal Senate meeting. And at 10:50 a.m. we have the arrival of the Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy. At 10:55 a.m. she proceeds with the inspection of the guard, something of course we anticipate greatly to see what the outcome of that is. And at 11 a.m. we will see the commencement of the joint sitting of the Senate, as well as the delivery of the throne speech by the Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy.
Saint-Lucien, bonjour et bienvenue à Caille Parlement. Nous ici aujourd'hui, nous avons commencé, nous avons marché commencement 6e session, 10e Caille Parlement. Et puis nous avons chaque monde, là pas même ni là pour nous d'assises, là ni maman l'école, là ni c'est diplomate là, là ni toutes sortes de qualités monde qui j'ai trouvé koyo à dire ici. Comme ça nous avons marché commencement ouvert pour Caille Parlement aujourd'hui 26 avril.
And I just want to let our viewers and our listeners know, don't worry if you're not next to television or you can't really keep on that radio. You can tune in and see our live proceedings at www.govt.lc and also at www.rslonline.com. As Marilyn was saying, the chamber is rightly packed today. I am so inspired to see a lot of our young students, our secondary school students, who are here to take in today's proceedings. There are schools represented from around the island, from Vieux-Fort to Choiseul to Enchipo to Vide-Bouteille. All of them are here today. What do you guys think about them participating in such an event?
As you mentioned, it definitely is an inspiring thing to note so many students being present. I think having them participate in such an activity at this point so early on, it actually provides quite a bit of impetus for them to participate in future activities of a similar nature, for example, youth parliament and moving along. It's a great point of inspiration for them as students.
Parce même ça qui s'est passé mais à présent maman l'école j'ai invité maman l'école qui a point pas en ça qui a fait là yo ka attendre pour ko yo même yo ka ouais pour ko yo même et yo ka comprendre et puis ça sans bagay qui ka ba yo inspiration qui ka ba yo force en tant qui ka venir pour yo savoir qui manière ça fait pays à ka courir et puis qui qualité monde qui ka guider ça fait pays comment quoi ça sent bon bagay pour ces maman l'école là.
I know a lot of our students really don't understand why it is we are here today, or in fact some of our people don't understand what exactly is happening. What is the throne speech? Why is it necessary? Well, as you know, as a former colony, and we are still an independent nation of the United Kingdom, well actually Britain, so the Queen is our monarch. The Governor General of St. Lucia is a representative of the Queen, and so since we are now opening Parliament, it is supposed to be the Queen's message. So the Governor General will take on the role of the Queen at today's Parliament sitting. The throne speech really outlines the government's policy for the upcoming year. Now, the upcoming year for us is 2016-2017. Coincidentally, our throne speech, it sort of signals, well, it does signal the start of what we call our budget season. Now, I don't know if our viewers and our listeners know, but on Thursday, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Dr. Kennedy Anthony, will be laying the estimates of expenditure and revenue in the House of Parliament. It is something that we look forward to every year, and this year's estimates of expenditure and revenue is put in the area about $1.426 million, and that is actually a reduction on last year's budget. Last year's budget was $1.464, which is basically about $37 million less this year.
Oui, quand Alicia dit l'année ça là, nous avons joué tous les années pour nous ça commencer budget pays et puis budget pays a nous en situation à sous là où vini et puis manière nous ka dépense pays et puis durant temps ça là il ka nous gouvernement et bien premier ministre là ka présenter Saint-Lucien et puis système et puis loi qui manière yo kay dépenser l'argent pays à dans différentes manières quand ça l'argent coffre quoi ça sans bagay qui bien important et puis quand il dit Saint-Lucien les nous commencer nous c'est un pays en bas l'Angleterre et puis c'est pour ça nous ni gouverneur général qui a représenté Wenna qui a présenté loi et puis policy gouvernement à sous manière l'argent qui a dépensé en l'année qui a venu l'année 2016 ou 2017.
And as we look around the chamber, we can see it's a buzz with excitement. We have members of the diplomatic corps, we have permanent secretaries from all our government ministries, we have representatives of government agencies as well as members of the House of Assembly, and it really is such a very inspiring scene here today. We have members of the Ayanola Council for the Advancement of Rastafari. We have so many different sectors represented here today, which lends gravity to such an auspicious occasion.
And of course, as we mentioned earlier, after the Senate adjourns, a little later on, we will have the arrival of the Governor General, Her Excellency Pearlette Louisy. She will be accompanied, of course, by Police Commissioner Severin Mosheri. So it's something where I'm definitely anticipating greatly what exactly will be presented in this year's throne speech, especially to note, from comparison to last year's delivery, what are some of the changes or what are some of the things we can look forward to in the upcoming presentation.
Et puis quand Lucia dit encore, nous avons toutes différentes qualités nous représenter en Parlement aujourd'hui, nous avons sécurité permanente, c'est différents ministères, nous avons c'est ministre là même et puis c'est même Parlement, nous aussi c'est même l'école là, nous aussi bar association pour avocats. Yo ni président yo là aussi c'est un bagage qui bien important nous c'est Rastafari là c'est monde ça là bien important so, tout le monde tout secteur en société a représenté ici aujourd'hui et puis ça c'est l'occasion ben nous Saint-Lucien qui bien important et puis Saint-Lucien qui a gardé pour ça tous les années.
One of the things I have noticed for today's sitting is that the number of hats have decreased. And I know everybody is looking forward to Her Excellency to see what she will come out with this year.
What she will look like and her magnificence.
Yes, we know, we all love her hats. But you know, before it was actually mandated for women who came to Parliament to have their heads covered with a hat. So that is actually where the tradition came in. So do you know how we changed that?
I do believe that it was a motion which was put forth by the Honourable Minister Rambali at the time, and was it Sir Flood Bowbray who presented that to the House?
Very well, Kiba. Very well. A motion was actually put before the House to banish that practice. So it's no longer mandatory for women to have their heads covered with hats. However, it is optional. And so the women you see with hats today, like Honourable Alvina Reynolds, Honourable Emma Hippolyte, and the invited guests, have actually chosen to wear their hats to keep the tradition alive.
Et puis c'est un bagage qui en belleté en femme bagay moi même pas ni chivé et pas ni chapeau mais ça c'est un bagage qui Saint-Lucien qui prend l'orgueil dedans là yo met un chapeau c'est pas pour mieux venir chapeau yo va chercher belle qualité chapeau et qu'on nous garder malgré la pas tellement chapeau mais il a fait nous changer qui en caille parlement monde ça servi chapeau yo si vous voulez exactement pas servi chapeau ça c'est affaire.
We are waiting the arrival of the Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Honourable Peter Foster. As soon as he makes his way into the chamber, we will actually start today's proceedings. And I know everybody is excited to hear what is the overview of government's policy for the 2016-2017 fiscal cycle. And I know last year one of the things that really stood out to me in the Governor General's speech was that she praised our sportsmen and women. She acknowledged their contribution to the St. Lucian landscape, and we know just recently we had West Indies taking the world by storm with their World T20 win, and we have two of our very own sons of the soil on that team. We have Captain Darren Sammy and opening batsman Johnson Charles, and I know Kiba's all excited for her cricket.
I am. In fact, it of course is definitely a point of pride for me as a St. Lucian to have seen nationals participate so actively in such an excellent venture in terms of the sporting world. And now, making mention to last year's throne speech, another point of reference would be the plans which were laid for the improvement of the health sector. And not too long ago, we actually had the naming ceremony of the Owen King National Hospital, which is expected to, of course, improve on a lot of the services available to our nationals. So it's nice to see that there have actually been points which were referred to in last year's proceedings that we would be witnessing the development of as time has passed.
An bay mwen vle pale asou, se sa ki fet l'année passée epi gouverneur général la. Epi an koumanseman la dwes li gouverneur général la fe Saint-Lucien chanje, se la Gouaz Didier ki ka mene sikse an la vi nou. E ki kou yasou se même se mam sénateur epi se mam parlement, mam konsit la pou agi ensemble epi yon alot asou zafè l'enterre pays ya. Il aussi parlé de situation sous France pays Saint-Lucie et puis pays où la terre du l'année 2014. Même à ça, il y a sous Saint-Lucie pour pas décomporter. Pour embrasser l'année 2015 qui l'année passée et puis l'espoir et confiance et qui parlait de manière nous ça développer confiance en yon à l'autre. À la douce li indiqué aussi direction gouvernement qui point en travail développement on dit Lucia BGA ka ban nou direction à son qui manière gouvernement ka servi l'argent pays à l'année qui ka vini.
And that is the importance of the throne speech, you know, Marilyn. A lot of people don't understand it, but really the throne speech outlines the policies. And every year, annually, we can go back to each throne speech and say, what was it that was promised, or where was the country headed, and has it been delivered on?
Et puis aussi, il parlait des situations l'année passée, situation des crimes. Et nous savons, crimes en gros bagaille cette ici. Il parlait des lois qui ont réglé pour caution, électricité, courant, et puis faciliter business. Il parlait des lois qui ont protégé Timamay. Et puis oui, développer l'aéroport iranien ou changer ça. Il parlait de protéger de manière bonne la mer. Et puis il parlait d'un chai bagay qui gouvernement a fait durant l'année ça. Quand on écoute l'adresse gouverneur général, nous avons qui ça qui fait et qui ça qui pas fait et puis qui manière yo kay développer à tout ça.
And as we can see on the screen, we can see the outside of the House of Parliament, where we know annually people wait for the arrival of the Governor General and also to meet their favorite parliamentarians, to interact with them. The crowd is growing a little bit, and you will see more people converge on Library Street when the Governor General arrives so that she can do the inspection of the guard.
It's definitely, as you mentioned, something that people anticipate greatly, and I'm looking forward to, again, I keep referencing what is it that will be in the upcoming speech. I'm so curious as to, what will be presented. And a point to note on a mention that Marilyn made in terms of the address last year, referencing crime, she actually made reference to the strengthening of the country's judicial system. So coming into this presentation, I'm definitely anticipating what else would be additionally added to this.
And we have also, on that note as well, we know that the new commercial court was implemented in St. Lucia. We also got a second high court judge. And that is why I say throne speech year to year. You can see what was promised and whether or not it has been delivered on.
And of course, at the opening ceremony, Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony stated that the new office will hopefully bring greater cohesiveness between the two departments in terms of moving our judicial system forward.
Et puis aussi, nous, côté gouvernement, établi système loi pour l'électricité. Et puis, yo établi avant nous tenir une organisation qui était contrôler les affaires de l'eau. Mais à présent, nous avons qui contrôler les affaires d'électricité, les affaires de l'eau, les affaires de téléphone. Comme ça, comment on dit en anglais, Alicia, organisation qui contrôler the regulatory.
Oh, National Utilities Regulatory Commission.
Eh oui,
that's a mouthful, you know.
Let's remember.
Oui, ça c'est une organisation qui contrôle le système de l'eau, électricité, téléphone, à sous manière pour ces organisations ça pas pour l'avantage à sous malheureux à sous simplicité.
Yes, and that to mention that in November last year, a bill came before the House of Parliament to consolidate what was then the electricity sector and the water sector because they were separated. But what government decided to do was to collate them so that we can have utilities under one organization. So you don't really have the Water Resources Management Agency and then you have Lucia on the other side. Everybody is together in one organization so that they can provide a better service to the people of St. Lucia. And as Marilyn mentioned, renewable energy has been a big thing on the agenda. In fact, the Governor General last year spoke spoke about that in her throne speech. And we have heard of the advancements of renewable energy in St. Lucia. We heard the next phase of the geothermal exploration is going forward. We have the wind farm, the 12 megawatt wind farm that Lucia is exploring to generate more electricity. We also have the solar panels. That has been a big thing. Nemo has gotten solar panels to reduce on the electricity cost, and I think that has saved them somewhere around $30,000 a month. The new wellness center on the Millennium Highway also has solar panels. And so again, we're looking at reducing the cost of electricity, and we also know that WASCO is implementing some of these energy saving measures. What they are looking to do is to use gravity instead of using pumps. As you know, pumping, you use a lot of electricity, and again, WASCO being the company that they are, trying to find efficient ways in which to serve the people of St. Lucia. The Sergeant at Arms is entering the chamber with the mace, signaling the start of today's proceedings. He is followed by Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Honorable Peter Foster, QC.
Oui, nous avons commencé le Parlement à Bouizan, comme ça, c'est mon agent et nous avons commencé.
And as you know, Marilyn, the mace is the symbol of the Queen in St. Lucia, so no Parliament sitting is official unless the mace is present.
Almighty God, by whom alone kings reign and princes decree justice, and from whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom and understanding, we thine unworthy servants here gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our consultations, and grant that we, having thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and the partial affections, the result of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and the justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the Queen, the public weal, peace and tranquility of St. Lucia, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Ghost be with us all evermore. Amen.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Be it resolved that this Honorable House of Assembly pledges sincere loyalty and allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to Her Excellency the Governor General for onward transmission to Her Majesty the Queen. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to move that this Honorable House do rise to meet in joint session with the Senate to receive a message from Her Excellency the Governor General, and then stand adjourned until Thursday, April 28th at 9 a.m.
What you are seeing is the formal procedure here at the House of Parliament. The House of Assembly is sitting. The Clerk of Parliament, Linda Gustav, read a proclamation that opened this sixth session of the 10th Parliament. The Speaker then got the proceedings rolling on today's event, and the Prime Minister put forward a motion to have the House of Assembly stand adjourned so that it can meet in joint session with the Senate to receive a message from the Queen. And as I said earlier, Marilyn and Kiba, the Queen here is represented by the Governor General of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy.
Et puis quand la coutume nous pas habitué ouais quantité mon kay parlement ka joindre et puis c'est sénateur ka joindre mais pour ça là yo joindre mais ça qui fait là premier ministre là mandé pour envoyer session yo kay parlement comme ça c'est sénateur ça vini et fait même bagaille là et puis après ça pour yo ça joindre ensemble pour gouverneur général là ça adresser yo.
And the House of Assembly, as you can see, is very, very packed. I'm surprised there's still standing room in here. The members of the House of Assembly have now filed out of the chamber to make way for members of the Senate. The Senate will be sitting in a little bit to basically go through the same procedure that you have seen this morning with the House of Assembly, where the Clerk of Parliament will again read the proclamation by the Governor General of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy, to open the 6th session of the 10th Parliament. The President of the Senate, the Honorable Claudius Francis, will welcome everyone to the chamber and ask about today's proceedings. The Leader of Government Business, Honorable Philip Victor Lacobinier, will put forward a motion that the Senate stand adjourned to meet in joint session with the House of Assembly. And again, that's how we get the ball rolling. Her Excellency will then arrive to do the inspection, and then we will hear the much anticipated throne speech.
Well, quand Lucia dit, nous avons c'est même parlement, c'est mon yo électé, c'est yo qui parti à présent, yo pas en Kaila, yo pas en Kaila parlement, et puis ça qui Kaila c'est sénateur. Et puis président pour Sénat là, c'est Honorable Claudius Francis. Il a passé en motion ensemble et puis chef pour business gouvernement en sénateur, il a passé en motion côté il a demandé pour envoyer meeting yo côté il a quitté et vie joindre ensemble. Et puis c'est sénateur.
I know we've been talking about the throne speech, the throne speech, the throne speech. Some people may not remember last year's throne speech. Some may have not been able to catch it. And to our viewers and listeners, you know, we are always at your beck and call. So in fact, we do have a clip from the throne speech last year delivered by Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy, the Governor General of St. Lucia. Let's take a look at that clip now.
I remind all herein that it is the right of all women and men who enjoy free thought to define their hopes and discover their destinies. But when these men and women form a state, there is also a national hope and destiny which requires collective responsibility driven by a common purpose. The state of mind, the state of being of our people must find commonality, even in the midst of diversity, must find grand alliance in the midst of minor disagreement. We must be a nation of consequence, a nation of strength, a nation of purpose, a nation anxious to live by good deeds, a nation of great men and women. Such a state of being is not where the pessimist finds comfort. It requires positive thought, positive vibes, and positive vision. Such a state is far removed from helplessness, doubt, or dependency. It requires wisdom, will, and action. Such a state is defined by women and men of courage, character, and will. They understand of their own free will that they must imbue care and kindness towards each other. It is a state summoned by providence, sanctioned by purpose, and not sullied by prejudice and untamed desires of power. It is a state of being that we can all secure and achieve, never mind our station in life, never mind our profession, never mind our material wealth. It is a state of doing for oneself, not a state buoyed by dependency of people who are left destitute and weak for want of will and valor. Madam Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, members of the Senate, members of the House of Assembly, Our free choice as a nation to determine our destiny is a powerful ability, but it is not naive to the realities of the ever globalizing, ever more connected and harsh forces of the world, be they of nature or of man. Today, we ask our people to clothe themselves with robes of reason and respect for others, that they might assume regal postures and a regal presence in this world, and not clothe themselves with rags of rage or rancor. Let us secure hope and define our destinies for self and country.
And there you have it, a clip of last year's throne speech by the Governor General of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy. She made some very poignant points, she made some very powerful points, and again, that's why we emphasize the importance of the throne speech as it outlines the overall direction for the country, and we get to hold the relevant authorities accountable to what has been promised and what has been outlined.
And one of the points of note was there seemed to have been quite a tone of inspiration for the nation in terms of being a people with a positive attitude, people who find hope in the future. So it definitely was one of inspiration in terms of the delivery from last year.
Oui, et puis, gouverneur général a ban nous deux, trois bagailles pour nous ça suivre. Et qui dit ça pays a besoin, c'est monde qui n'a attitude positive. Parce que ça qui toujours parle pour détruire tout le monde, les autres proposés. Nous besoin de monde qui parle pour travail, pas ça qui veut dépendre seulement sur les autres. Et de nous besoin de monde qui caille pousser yon à l'autre devant, pas ça qui veut aider yon à l'autre descendre. Nous besoin de monde qui accepte qui si bagay là bon pour matiwin, il bon pour matiwin. Yo aussi dit pas ça qui croit qui loi c'est pour yon pour qu'on yo tout seul et puis pas pour les autres. Aujourd'hui, nous commandons toute simplicité pour respecter yon à l'autre. Et puis c'est ça nous besoin en pays simplicité. Commander simplicité pour respecter yon à l'autre, pour permettre chaque monde d'évaluer tout le monde, accepter yo et puis potentiel et puis ba yo chance là pour ça vivre la vie qui bien important pour nous tout en pays.
That's right, Marilyn. And another point of note was the emphasis that she placed on we as a nation determining what our future is and the direction that we take as a people. So in fact, as I stated earlier, it was definitely a point of great inspiration for me as a national of this beautiful island.
What stood out for me for this throne speech is she not only spoke of us collectively as a nation, but also individually, what we individually need to do so that we can collectively bring the country forward. It's more than just a positive attitude. It is a commitment to your fellow citizens, a commitment to your fellow man. It is a commitment to seeing the advancement of your country. We talk a lot about our ills and the disadvantages that we have as a nation, but we don't really see our contribution to it or how we individually can make it better. So for me, she spoke to me as an individual working in a wider machinery, and for that, I mean, all of you know how much I love doing that sort of work. And so it really did speak very powerfully to me.
Oui, il parlait bon moi mais aussi moi ouais il parlait ben c'est même parlement, c'est sénateur et puis c'est même parlement et puis nous en année élection et nous savons ça c'est l'année qui tout le monde yon pas pour gorger yon à l'autre mais quand couilla sous tout pays c'est monde ça là qui pour ban nous guide pour respecter yon à l'autre, pour respecter l'idée yon à l'autre, pour respecter sa opinion yon à l'autre et puis en manière ça là nous kay ça de bout comme exemple puis jodi a nous ni quantité jeune monde en kay parlement et puis si c'est monde ça là yo ka ouais jodi a qui kay là ka présenter ko yo comme monde qui nous commander pour point c'est parole ça là en l'idée nous en chien nous comme ça nous kay double d'or comme exemple by ces jeunesse là.
One of the critical things in the throne speech is what government intends to do for the upcoming year. And we get to know that through the debate of estimates and expenditure and also through the appropriation bill, what we now know as the budget address. And we already have a little bit of a preview of what the government will do, because the Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Kennedy Anthony, in his New Year's address outlined some of the policies that he wanted to see for 2016, some of the way forward, some of the initiative that the government wants to implement and introduce. And in fact, we do have, again, another clip of the Prime Minister's New Year's address. And so let's take a look at that now.
Let me share with you details on the performance of our economy for the first 3 quarters of the financial year. Following a period of very tepid growth, domestic output strengthened in 2015. Most economic sectors showed signs of recovery within the first 9 months of 2015 as the construction sector gained momentum amid renewed confidence in the economy. This was supported by continued buoyancy in tourism, agriculture, and other services. Construction activity was led by the private sector as work commenced on the construction of the Royalton Hotel, the former Smuggler's Resort, and continued on a number of projects including Tide Sugar Beach in Soufrière, Harbour Club Hotel, the Courts Megastore, and the Diana Commercial Center. This increased level of activity was reflected in a 13.5% increase in the importation of construction materials over the period from January to September 2015. The tourism sector continued to accomplish record performances with a 6.4% increase in total arrivals for the January to November period, an increase of 10.1% and 2.6% in cruise and stay-over arrivals, respectively, over the period, contributed to higher visitor expenditure, which stood at an estimated $414.5 million in the first half of the year. Higher levels of domestic and export demand were reflected in a 6.3% increase in manufacturing production. The output of food and food products increased by 21.6%, corrugated paper and paperboard by 12.5%, wood and wood products by 11.6%, and furnishings by 16.1%. From all vantage points, these increases are welcome and encouraging. The agricultural sector experienced mixed fortunes during the review period. While there were declines in banana exports and livestock production overall, increases were recorded in pork production and vegetable production. Purchases by supermarkets and hotels increased by an estimated 12% to 6,648 tons, reflecting in some measure the success of the CFL Farmer Certification Program, coupled with increased demand from the tourism sector. Our fiscal balances continue to show improvement. An overall deficit of minus $27.2 million were recorded for the first half of the fiscal year 2015-16, representing a 55.8% reduction from the minus $61.6 million in 2014-15. Total revenue and grants increased by 9% to $507.7 million, while total expenditure remained relatively flat with a 1.4% growth to $534.9 million. This resulted in a current account surplus of $47.4 million in the first 6 months of the fiscal year compared to $19.6 million in the previous year. Notwithstanding the improved fiscal performance over the first half of the financial year, I must caution you that significant risks remain in managing our debt and in ensuring debt and fiscal sustainability over the medium to long term. We have to continue to inspire confidence in the management of our economy and contain reckless increases in our debt level. Growth in 2016 is expected to be sustained, driven by continued improvements in the construction industry and growth in tourism. Increased foreign direct investment in the hotel sector is expected to be the main impetus for the growth in the construction sector. However, this projection is subject to downside risks related to the global outlook of the economy. Developments in mainland China, a slowdown in emerging market economies, and movements in commodity prices particularly oil.
And the President of the Senate, the Honorable Claudius J. Francis, has made his way into the chamber, preceded by the Sergeant at Arms, carrying the mace. This signals the start of the Senate proceedings here at the House of Parliament on Labru Street.
Oui, nous, le président sénateur, avec déjà, monsieur Honorable Claudius Francis, j'ai arrivé. Et puis là, il va commencer la session et puis c'est Sénat là.
By
Il va
whom
commencer à
alone
prédier à
kings
présent.
reign, and princes decree justice, and from whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom and understanding, we thine unworthy servants here gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down your heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our consultations, and grant that we, having thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the result of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the Queen, the public weal, peace and the tranquility of St. Lucia, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Ghost be with us all evermore. Amen.
Motions, Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. President, I beg to move the following motion standing in my name. Be it resolved that this Honorable Senate pledges sincere loyalty and allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to Her Excellency the Governor-General for onward transmission to Her Majesty the Queen.
Mr. President, I rise to second this motion.
Honorable Senators, the question is that this Honorable Senate pledge the sincere loyalty and allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II, and be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to Her Excellency the Governor-General for onward transmission to Her Majesty the Queen. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Mr. President, I beg to move that this Honorable Senate do rise to meet in joint session with the Honorable House of Assembly and to receive a message from Her Excellency the Governor-General, and then stand adjourned, sine die.
Honorable Senators, the question is that this Honorable Senate do rise to meet in joint session with the Honorable House of Assembly to receive a message from Her Excellency the Governor-General, and then stand adjourned, sine die. I now put the question. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
All right.
And there you have it. We have now concluded the second part of our program. The Senate has just adjourned so that they could meet in joint session with the House of Assembly to hear a message from Her Majesty the Queen, and I have to keep saying this, the Queen here is represented by the Governor-General of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy. The next item on our agenda is one of my favorite. I look forward to it every year. It is the arrival of the Governor-General with all the pomp and circumstance befitting her station, and then she does the inspection of the Guard of Honor. And for me, the inspection of the Guard of Honor is really a crown and glory for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. And also, you have the Royal St. Lucia Police Band out in full force. I'm not sure if Marilyn and Kibo heard it, but I did hear them. You heard them, you heard them. They are very much well put together. They are always on point. They practice relentlessly, and I think they do us really proud anytime they go out to perform.
And you mentioned the inspection, of course, by Her Excellency the Governor General, and I think it is a point of honor for the officers present for inspection to be singled out if they are in fact put together in such a manner to catch the attention of the Governor General. So I'm sure some officers will be hoping that they will be as impeccably dressed so as to attract the attention of Her Excellency.
Comme ça, nous, ces sénateurs, ont quitté et puis ils ont envoyé meeting pour qu'ils joignent ensemble et puis c'est même le Parlement. Et puis, quand Lucia dit, à besoin, nous avons espéré à ce gouverneur général et que nous avons droit à côté quantité de l'Assemblée pour regarder la manière gouverneur général à examiner ces polices là. Et puis nous sommes police bana, nous ne plus mais police bana rôle Caraïbe là. Et puis l'autre temps yo jouer musique yo nous avons ces police là gouverneur général là j'ai arrivé et puis police là nous vient à JD et puis ça il a commencé à faire examiner ces police là qui à sous garde là.
You see the motorcycle escorts, and we see the official vehicle for the Governor General of St. Lucia coming to a halt here on Labrie Street. A number of people have gathered to see the opening session of the sixth session of the 10th Parliament. We see the aide-de-camp, what we call her, the ADC. We call her ADC. And she is escorting the Governor General of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy, dressed in vibrant blue.
Oui, habillé, nous pas même assuré si c'est bleu, puis nous pas savoir qui couleur TV à cabanou là. Mais là, et puis, quand la coutume, en toute qualité chapeau, bel chapeau, nous voyons qu'à passer pour y aller examiner. C'est garde police là, c'est police là sous garde, et puis nous attendons police banna qui a joué musique et puis toute force.
That's right, and she is accompanied by the Commissioner of Police, Severa Morcheri. She has taken her place at the podium to hear the national anthem of St. Lucia. The national anthem of St. Lucia, played by the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, to signal the start of the inspection of the Guard of Honor by Dame Pearlette Louisy, St. Lucia's very own Governor General.
Gouverneur général Dame Pearlette Louisy qui a commencé pour examiner ces polices là.
And right now, the parade commander is giving a report to the Governor General how many officers there are and just run-of-the-mill informations detailing what we are witnessing here today and what she will be witnessing. And as Kiba was saying earlier, it really is an auspicious occasion for those officers there. If they are impeccably dressed, if their buttons are very well shined, their shoes are very well shined, everything is aligned, their buttons with their belt and their seams and everything, the Governor General will actually single out an officer to give a commendation on how smart he or she is looking.
Lucia, est-ce que vous avez choisi premier vini police pour venir en paroi de ça là, puis la pas ni tellement police, et nous savons c'est ici bien police, vous avez choisi ça qui spécial, peut-être à différents départements pour mener yo pour gouverneur général examiner yo, et pour dire gouverneur général examiner yo, il regarder si radio habillement yo bien net, qui manière soulier yo si yo polish ti soulier, qui manière sim yo ka du bout, qui manière ti corhat blanc blanc qui manière sang yoye comme ça toutes ces bagailles ça va être examiné.
And it's interesting because I'm actually reviewing this process and smiling to myself because I've actually been on the opposite end of preparation for this process in terms of the shining of the buttons. Quite a task in terms of assisting with the preparation process for an officer on parade. As a younger girl, I did have my share in terms of assisting one of my siblings for his preparation process for presentation for parade and inspection by the Governor General.
And she has given her approval to the parade commander, and we will hear the national anthem once again in a very short while, and then the Governor General will be escorted into the House of Parliament by the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Assembly, where, as we know, she will give the throne speech.
Okay. Comme ça, il a fini fait examination et puis tout le monde a debout. Voilà. Oui, comme ça, nous finissons chanter National Anthem. Là, je ne pas chanter en créole, mais nous savons nous dire en créole. Et puis, le gouverneur général a fait chemin pour entrer en Caille Parlement à présent, côté qui a délivré la l'Ouest de la nation.
She's now making her way with the ADC and the police commissioner to the entrance of the House of Parliament right here on Library Street. You can see some members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band going ahead of her, because as soon as she starts to climb the stairs, you will hear the pomp and fanfare announcing her arrival into the chamber. Sorry, you can see her being greeted by the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Assembly.
And one of the points that Marilyn made earlier was how important it was of the duality of her delivery, where the throne speech will actually be delivered both in English and in Creole as well.
Oui, et puis là, nous avons le gouverneur général qui a parlé, et puis le président sénateur, et puis aussi le speaker Kaila qui a directé House of Assembly, qui Parlement, côté qui a délivré l'adresse.
And when they make the way up into the chamber, it will actually be an entire procession. So the Clerk of Parliament, the Deputy Clerk of Parliament will be part of that procession as well as they enter the chamber. And as I said, remember, the mace has to be in the chamber for it to be an official sitting of Parliament. And so the Sergeant-at-Arms and members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force will be part of that delegation as well.
Okay. Alicia a parlé de mace. Mace c'est go bagay lo anou gendarme nan et ben police la ka chaye puis meate et puis bagay ja commencé nous attendre des ordres là nous attendre police bana ka commencé et yo ka préparer pour gouverneur général entre en kay parlement.
And we can hear the fanfare. We hear the trumpets
announcing her arrival.
We see the Sergeant-at-Arms at the chamber with the mace,
ensuring that it is, of course, an official proceeding.
And the Sergeant-at-Arms is entering the chamber, announcing the arrival of the Governor General of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy.
Quand ça Dame Pearlette Louisy qui a entré à présent, et puis tout ces entourages là, au président Sénat là, speaker Sénat là, speaker Parlement, c'est claque là, c'est police là, ils ont tout rentré. Et puis gouverneur général Dame Pearlette Louisy là en parmi nous.
And she is bowing to all sides of the house, the left, the right, and the center as per protocol. And she will now take her official seat before she gives the throne speech. She is greeted by Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Kennedy Anthony, who has handed her the speech as per protocol.
Quand ça y a joué speech là, et bien l'adresse là, à la main Premier ministre là, et puis il a commencé à présenter l'adresse à présent. Quand ça a coûté, nous avons gouverneur général là.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, today we begin another chapter of our lives together. And by God's good grace, we assemble this morning to mark the commencement of the 6th session of the 10th Parliament of St. Lucia. I invite you, honorable members, to recommit to another year to work together in the service of all St. Lucians. We must all believe that our country is great, and we are called to celebrate its achievements while still being ambitious and visionary in the possibilities of the future. We must believe that we have been blessed by the Almighty to be a people of peace, progress, passion, and prosperity. We must remain a country of courage, of compassion, of grace, and unfailing courtesy and generosity, united in our ambitions to pursue the collective good. In many respects, that collective good and individual action is beautifully demonstrated in the area of sports here at home. Without a doubt, our nation is still very much exuberant over the recent successes of the West Indies women's and men's cricket teams in becoming the world champions in the 20-over form of the game, as well as the under-19 male team, which also became champions in the 50 overs format. In the case of the senior men's team led by our very own Captain Darren Sammy, they achieved the additional distinction of being the only team to have won this title twice. And on both occasions, the team was led by our Darren Sammy. Understandably, our focus has been on our two champions, Darren and Johnson. But our young St. Lucian cricketers have also done us proud. Once again, and for the third time in succession, our boys were victorious at the Under-15 Windward Islands tournament. We salute them. Individual successes were also realized over the past year by a number of St. Lucian athletes. Janelle Shaper continued to perform well and picked up a gold medal in high jump at the National Collegiate Athletics Association Division I level. Our beloved Laverne Spencer, now into her 18th year representing St. Lucia, participated in high jump at the 41 Nation Pan American Games in Toronto, Canada, and brought home the gold medal for St. Lucia. Our first gold medal at that event. But there are many other St. Lucians who continue to participate commendably in professional sport. We, of course, look forward to their representation and the lifting of our flag at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil this summer for the Games of the 31st Olympiad. My government commits to continued support of the aspirations, hopes, and dreams of our young people through sport. It continues to raise the bar in the quality of sport facilities, but this must be complemented with greater organization by sports associations and participation by the citizenry. My government will continue its efforts to expand access to sporting and recreational facilities through investments at the community level throughout St. Lucia. As my government has repeatedly emphasized, our country must be developed in a fair, balanced, and equitable way. In fulfillment of that mission, no community must be left behind in the provision of sporting facilities and amenities. We must, however, work harder to restore club culture in our communities, for it is in these clubs that leadership is nursed and the rudiments of social cooperation are learned and acquired. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, Madame Parlement, la gloire d'idée tout-puissant mène nous ensemble aujourd'hui pour ouvrir 6e session de la 10e Parlement pays. Je vais inviter tout membre Parlement pour continuer à travailler durant l'année qui va venir en l'intérêt et puis au service tout Saint-Lucien. Dieu bénit nous et puis un pays incroyable. À nous célébrer succès nous. À nous continuer à pousser le pays à plus en plus devant pour jouir beaucoup plus succès. Pour montrer reconnaissance nous pour grande bénédiction ça là. À nous embrasser la paix, progrès, succès. À nous voir que le pays a continué comme un pays qui pas quoi pont, qui pas lâche, qui n'a compassion. Un pays qui a apprécié gentillesse, politesse et générosité. Un pays côté les habitants qui agissent ensemble en l'intérêt l'un à l'autre. Ce n'est pas quelque chose qui est difficile du tout. C'est possible en sport, c'est possible en l'autre section de la vie pays. Gardez manière pays à célébrer le succès d'Aren Sami et puis Johnson Charles. Manière pays à applaudir Laverne Spencer gagné en médaille d'or au niveau international. Et l'année plus plusieurs d'autres, Guamoun, congène Mamaï, nous avons célébré chaque fois qu'ils porté l'honneur du pays. C'est pour raison ça là, le gouvernement a fait force pour assurer que chaque commune mis en place côté ça qui est intéressé en sport, ça développer habilité yo, talent yo. Je demande tout pour profiter de ce développement ça là parce que toutes ces démarches ça là ça servi comme berceau pour entraîner ces gens qui ont conduit le pays en ces temps qui vont venir. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, political representation is a major preoccupation this year. I open today what is likely to be the last session of this Parliament prior to the next general elections. Our country will, in time, proceed to the polls to allow for the expression of the democratic will of the people to select their political representatives. This upcoming general elections would represent our 10th such event since attaining independence in 1979, and our 17th since attaining adult suffrage in 1951. Thus far, since adult suffrage, both the St. Lucia Labour Party and the United Workers' Party have been victorious in 8 polls. Further to this, the peaceful transfer of the reins of power from one party to another has occurred 5 times since independence and 6 times since adult suffrage. We have therefore, if only by virtue of this metric, achieved a mature and stable democracy. The electorate therefore expects behavior that reflects our maturity as a nation and as a people. Our democracy traverses deeper than institutions such as Parliament. It goes beyond the political leadership or the commonly coined card-carrying party membership. Each citizen must be responsible in its actions towards the other. Democracy also requires expression of views that does not cause unfair injury to the other. And so, the way we speak on talk shows, what we write on blogs and other social media threads, all impact the richness, diversity, and quality of our democracy. Once the day arrives, there may well be those who will cast the ballot for the 17th time, and many would be exercising this right for the first time. Whatever the case may be, this process represents a fundamental pillar of our democracy, and the responsibility of the ballot should never be taken lightly, no matter if it is new or habitual. The ballot still remains the fundamental expression of each citizen's political will. As such, I urge all eligible voters to exercise their franchise, not only in the interest of some perceived personal gain, but in the interest of our collective and common dominion. Monsieur Président, Monsieur Speaker, tout partout passé ce jour-là, c'est l'élection qui a parlé. Et en parlant de ça, aujourd'hui, je vais ouvrir ça qui peut-être c'est la dernière session parlementaire avant l'élection qui est. Alors, jour qui vient, les tout ça qui nous doit voter, qui mettent petit croyau pour choisir représentants parlementaires. L'élection ça là, qui est le 10e depuis l'indépendance en 1979, et le 17e depuis le suffrage universel en 1951. Ça veut dire que l'élection pas rien qui neuf. Comme ça, nous espérons que chacun de nous ait comporté comme nous comme il faut, avec civilité, honnêteté et responsabilité. Songez, parole ni racine. Comme ça, chaque parole qui dit, soit à sur radio, à dans papier nouvelle, à sur Facebook, et bien Internet là, qui a déterminé qualité démocratie nous avons en pays. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, there are of course abnormal antisocial agents that continue to undermine democratic society and the free will of its people to enjoy life. The greatest of these is undoubtedly violence. And indeed, such manifestations do not preclude the unfortunate behavior of the self-induced violence of suicide. The recent spate of suicides has left us deeply wounded, shaken, and bewildered. Collectively, we must share in the pain of the families whose loved ones chose to end their lives so tragically. My government believes that violence in all its forms destroys people and their freedoms. It is therefore committed to seeing reductions in homicides, suicides, fatalities caused by vehicular and other accidents. We must all continue our efforts to see the prevention of crime, sexual abuse and intimidation, and violence in all its ugly manifestations. Our desire is for a safe and just society. Meanwhile, my government has heard the widespread concerns over the number of remand prisoners at the Bordelais Correctional Facility. Over the past few weeks, the judiciary has made a determined effort to reduce the number of remand prisoners. In a recent press statement, the court advised that, and I quote, at the end of 2015, the remand population at the Bordelais Correctional Facility was at 353 persons, with 297 before the High Court, while 58 were before the Magistrates' Court. This represented a 9% decrease of individuals on remand from 2014, unquote. In a bid to reduce the remand population even further, the Supreme Court indicated that an additional judge was appointed temporarily in February 2016 to assist in the criminal division. The additional judge was able to dispose of 43 matters by the end of March 2016. Recently, the government agreed to finance the appointment of a fourth judge to the criminal division of the Supreme Court for a period of 6 months to work exclusively on remand cases. These measures notwithstanding, my government believes that the criminal justice system requires an overhaul. If the system is broken, we must fix it. It is clear that despite the monumental efforts of the judiciary and the state, the expected benefits of the reforms of the past few years have not always yielded the benefits championed for these reforms. Honorable members will recall that several years ago, we took the bold step to establish a criminal division of the Supreme Court. We enacted a new criminal code and a new evidence act, and we established new procedures in criminal trials. But have these initiatives really worked? Are we delivering justice in criminal cases in full accordance with our constitutional prescriptions? What explains the high number of remand cases? Are we unwittingly allowing defense counsel in criminal cases to exploit loopholes or weaknesses in the design of the procedures to frustrate the delivery of justice in criminal matters? These are burning questions. My government believes that the time has come to review the structure and operations of our criminal justice system, and to that end, it will work with the judiciary to appoint a team of experts to conduct a comprehensive review of the system in all its facets. The team will focus on our laws, both substantive and procedural, on the structure and staffing of the system. We must ensure that our citizens are satisfied that they have a system that is fair, just, and efficient. The recent closure of our major court building for repair and renovations also compounded the delays in handling judicial matters these past few months. For several weeks, the courts were disabled and displaced. Currently, our courts are scattered and assigned accommodation in unusual locations throughout the city. My government wishes to thank the judiciary for its patience and understanding as we cope with what is a very unusual situation. We cannot forget that St. Lucia is the headquarters of the Eastern Caribbean States Supreme Court. The headquarters agreement imposes a duty to provide the court and its judges with suitable accommodation, and we must therefore resolve this issue of accommodation for our courts once and for all. In the coming year, my government will intensify its preparations to develop a new judicial complex to house the headquarters of the OECS Supreme Court. This complex shall house the Court of Appeal, the High Courts, family courts, and magistrates' courts. It will also provide accommodation for other agents of the courts, including, for example, the Crown Prosecution Service. Following discussions with the judiciary, it has been agreed that the complex will be constructed on a greenfield site on the Millennium Highway, where enough land is available to accommodate all its structures. My government is grateful to the landowner for facilitating the acquisition of the site for the court. My government is of the belief that the judicial branch of our government requires modern, efficient, physical arrangements to support the delivery of justice to our citizens. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, il y a sam comme si un gros nouesse voulait envelopper le pays pour éteindre la lumière nous tout à fait. Toutes sortes de qualités de crimes qui prennent coup au lion. Ça can est cause en pervers, en lététude en chez nous. C'est un viol par ici, un haché par là, un vol par ici, un fusillé par là. Moun aux abois. Et qui semble nous commencer à désespérer. C'est pour nous trouver manœuvre pour gagner à bout de malaise ça là. C'est mauvaiseté ça là, qualité violence ça là, aussi vite que possible. Parce que ça can menacer liberté et puis sécurité pays. En même temps, il y a ça à considérer le système justice pays en descendant. Toute bagaille qui a marché lentement, lentement. De là, c'est comme si même calmation qui a bougé plus vite par ce système-là. Qui manière ou peut justifier en situation côté où il y a 353 prisonniers à Bordelais qui attendent en décision pour savoir si ils sont condamnés ou pas. Là, j'en ai plusieurs démarches pour améliorer la situation grave, ça là. Mais si ce n'est pas un, c'est l'autre. Franchement, le pays a passé, continuer à sous même son ça là. C'est faut nous ranger le système là, de tête aux pieds, aussi vite que possible. Sinon, bagaille kay plus twist, plus tard. Et sinon, éducateur mon quoi, bagaille kay vini mauvais. Parmi ces démarches, le gouvernement a entamé pour porter un soulagement pour le moment. C'est une augmentation en quantité de juges en système de justice là. Surtout pour tant ces caisses, ces prisonniers qui ont trouvé renvoyés si souvent et pour si tellement longtemps. Et puis en ces mois qui vont venir, le gouvernement a commencé à travailler sur un cas justice neuf sur Millennium Highway pour loger la cour d'appel CPI OICS là, l'audience magistrat et juge, et puis tribunal pour tant case toute maman, papa et riche, ça nous a créé en anglais family court là. Mais nous pas de temps pour calenger sur ces démarches là. C'est faut nous pousser devant avec toute vitesse. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, last year was a very important one for our planet. At various points during the year, technicians and political leaders gathered to negotiate and debate agreements that will define how we share and use our global commons. They gathered in Sendai, Japan, to define a new international framework for disaster risk reduction. They assembled in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to agree on the funding that should be mobilized to finance global development. Then they went to New York and articulated the 17 Sustainable Development Goals to which all nations would aspire between now and 2030. Finally, in the most complex of all the negotiations, the 195 parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change spent 2 weeks in Paris in the aftermath of the tragic terrorist attacks in that city, negotiating an historic new global climate change agreement. In the middle of these various negotiating theaters, St. Lucia and the Caribbean region stood tall and played an influential role in shaping the outcome of these discussions. However, it was in the discussions that led to the finalization and adoption of the Paris Agreement that we really saw the manifestation of that famous quotation from Margaret Mead. And I quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has," unquote. St. Lucia's Minister for Sustainable Development, Energy, Science, and Technology led the negotiations on behalf of the Caribbean region in Paris. He was chosen by the French government as a member of a very small group of ministerial facilitators to help reach agreement among countries on the thorny issues in the negotiations. He was sought after daily for interviews by all the international news media. Most importantly, however, he helped to galvanize the support of young people, artists, and journalists all over the Caribbean to amplify our region's voice for strong, decisive action on climate change. In the end, a small group of committed citizens from small island developing states helped to change the opinion of world leaders on the importance of limiting the global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And you remember the saying, 1.5 to stay alive. And on the need to adopt an ambitious agreement that sent a resounding signal that the world was serious about saving the planet and protecting the lives and livelihoods of the people who live in island states, low-lying countries, and other vulnerable regions. St. Lucia's leadership on climate change has continued into this year. And as recently as Friday last week, on Earth Day, our country became one of the first in the world to both sign and ratify the Paris Agreement on climate change. There is still much work to be done, but a very important step has been taken, and our country is proud to have played a significant role in this regard and to be looked on internationally as one of the leaders on environmental advocacy. Never doubt that, small as we are, we can change the world. We can do so by our intellect, our prowess, our passion for excellence, and our commitment to honor principle, even at the cost of standing alone for what we believe to be right. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, our efforts in climate change are very closely linked to the work we are doing in sustainable energy. The primary cause of the rapid increases in global temperatures is the release of high levels of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, from the burning of fossil fuels to produce energy. If we are to check the increase in the temperature of planet Earth, we must dramatically reduce on our use of fossil fuels for energy. St. Lucia produces only approximately 1,000th of 1% of the total greenhouse gases emitted into the atmosphere. However, my government believes in leading by example. This is why we have set ourselves clear targets to reduce our production of greenhouse gases by 16% by 2025 and 23% by 2030. These goals are consistent with our pledge to increase the contribution of renewable energy to the generation of electricity to 35% by the year 2020. By transitioning away from fossil fuels, we will not only play our part in contributing to a cleaner, safer planet, but we will ensure energy security for our country and protect our economy from the unhelpful volatilities in the world oil market. To achieve energy security, my government is pursuing critical investments in renewable energy in 3 areas: geothermal, solar, photovoltaic, and wind. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure there is a certain level of cynicism that many St. Lucians attach to any report about geothermal development in our country. This is not new. We have heard it for many years, for decades even. However, what is different this time around is the manner in which we have approached the challenge. My government assembled a coalition of partners to work with us to determine whether this was a goal worth pursuing. We mobilized support from the World Bank, the Global Environment Facility, the governments of New Zealand, and the Clinton Climate Initiative to undertake geotechnical studies. We included Lucia in the discussions from the outset, since they will be responsible for purchasing the geothermal power and transmitting and distributing it to consumers. We also teamed up with one of the most reputable geothermal developers in the world as our preferred developer. The initial findings are encouraging and interesting. They suggest that there is significant energy potential in our geothermal resources. Even more importantly, however, they indicate that it may be possible for us to produce geothermal energy without affecting or compromising the World Heritage status of the Piton Management Area in which the sulfur springs fall. It is still early in the life of the project, but if we keep to the current schedule, we will dig the exploratory wells in 2018 and be in a position to generate geothermal energy sometime around 2024. Simultaneously, we are pursuing developments in wind energy and solar photovoltaic energy. The data from the test tower in the vicinity of the Bordelais Correctional Facility suggests that we are on target to develop a 12-megawatt wind farm in this area. At current consumption levels, this will meet 20% of our peak demand for electricity. We expect construction on the wind farm to start somewhere towards the end of 2016 or at the beginning of 2017. With respect to solar energy, St. Lucia Electricity Services, Lucia, has initiated the process for inviting tenders for the construction of a 3.2 megawatt utility-scale solar photovoltaic farm in Vieux-Fort South. This will add another 5% to the contribution of renewables to our national electricity matrix. Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le Speaker, l'année passée, un champ de développement pour un cours au niveau international. Et petit pays Saint-Lucinois, c'est là, parmi tous ces gros pitchers, ces gros pays. Si jamais nous avons preuve que Saint-Lucie pas manchotte, nous trouvons preuve ça là en grande contribution faite par le ministre pour le développement durable, énergie, sciences et technologie, en go conférence là qui te tient à Paris en France pour négocier un arrangement neuf qui a ménager ces gros changements climatiques là qui a pris en cours au lieu la terre, surtout à ce manière ces changements ça là qui a affecté la vie et mode la vie les habitants ces petites îles la terre. Vraiment, petitesse, pas maladie. Cette Lucie m'a tué communauté internationale qui, tout petit qu'on nous petit, tout moyen qu'on nous moyen, nous ça changer ça qui a passé sur la terre. Nous ça fait ça grâce à l'intelligence nous, habilité nous, passion à nous ni pour excellence. Et puis manière nous ça du bout pour nous et puis chaîne promesse nous même si les autres dit quoi derrière. Principe nous c'est pas parole to sell et rien de fait. En ligne du changement climatique par exemple, nous avons commencé pour une démarche pour baisser à sous quantité l'huile payée pour servir pour produire l'électricité. Nous allons continuer travaux qui déjà commencé plusieurs années passées pour sonder terre au lieu en soufflant en souffouillant pour déterminer si l'année a assez vapeur pour produire l'électricité économiquement. Mais nous avons déterminé qui force vent en ouest bordelais peut produire 20% d'électricité nous besoin. Et puis, en vieux fort, Lucia a commencé des démarches pour bâtir une usine qui a servi le soleil pour produire l'électricité. We need to build national pride. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker. Building a society that is strong, resilient, and ready to take on the world requires a people with conviction, imagination, and confidence. It requires citizens who are at peace with themselves and with each other. Put simply, the society must know itself. Building national pride, defining oneself, is not an activity of vanity or parade. It is essential to building character and self-worth in our people. Each person must have sense of place, sense of self, sense of history, so that they may have sense of direction. In the triangulation of life, one must have these self-identifiers upon which we can take our mark along the journey. The efforts of achieving this call for strong institutions which project the national patrimony, the national inheritance, and the positive culture of a people. It requires building an image with a mix of inward and outward perspectives. It is an exercise in learning and relearning, in discovering and rediscovering, in defining and redefining. We have seen efforts in this regard take form over the past few years in the areas of cultural and heritage development. For example, we can now sing our national anthem in our own mother tongue. We are projecting confidence and vigor in embracing our Creole language. Through the expression of film, such as produced by Kendall John, we are discovering who we are. My government is committed to improving the infrastructure available for productions and development of the creative industries. It will, in the coming year, pursue the efforts that are underway to establish a national complex for the development of culture and the performing arts. We have been saying time and time again that it is time that our artists are given a home. We will deepen consultation on this to ensure that this new National Cultural Center will meet the requirements of the current and future practitioners and institutions who will make use of it. Just last week, through the St. Lucia National Trust, a national dialogue commenced at the Folk Research Center on fashioning a national museum system. To support these efforts, my government has vested the property known as the Married Women's Quarters at VG for the purpose of supporting the National Museum. It is way beyond time for our children to learn their culture and history. And speaking of culture, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, and honorable members, speaking of culture and education, the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College is continuing its journey to become a university college, in keeping with my government's commitment to raising the standard and quality of in-country education in general and tertiary education in particular. The transformation to a university college acknowledges the need to expand the tertiary education provision to a wider segment of the population and to enhance the quality of the human resource which will undergird our national development efforts. It is anticipated that legislation establishing the university college will be laid before this Honorable House during the 2016-2017 academic year, to enable the first entrants to register in August 2017 for the institution's own bachelor's degree in business, education, humanities, social sciences, and nursing. It will, of course, take a few years for the institution to be fully established as it consolidates its program offerings and improves the quality and level of its administrative structure, its physical plant, its staffing, and support for services. The cost of operating an institution of that nature will be significant. The college is in the process of restructuring its operational and financial management systems to meet these needs. But collectively, we as a community will need to determine how these future costs will be met. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, I now turn to one regional matter that St. Lucia will place on its agenda in the coming months. St. Lucia, in common with the other Caribbean states, committed on July the 5th, 2001, to the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, establishing the Caribbean community, including the Caribbean single market and economy. Since the signing of the revised treaty, the world has changed dramatically. The world that we knew is, frankly, no more. At the heart of the arrangements governing trade in our region is what has been described as a common external tariff, the CET. This tariff is essentially a legally binding agreement to allow all member states to impose identical or uniform rates of duty on items imported from outside of the community, that is, from third countries, in a bid to protect regional domestic production and trade within the community. My government, though, believes that the time has come to review the common external tariff, to determine whether protection should continue to be available to some products manufactured in our region. St. Lucia cannot continue to protect some regional products to the detriment of its own people. My government is also of the view that the rates of duty ascribed to some products need to be revised, and that greater flexibility should be given to member states in adjusting rates of duty on certain products in periods of economic stress or adjustment. My government hopes to place these issues on the agenda of the appropriate and relevant institutions of CARICOM in the coming weeks as part of the review of the common external tariff scheduled to start by July this year. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, it will be observed that this year my government has not so far announced new legislative measures or intentions for this new session of Parliament. Honorable members will undoubtedly agree that the legislative plate of the drafting department of the Attorney General's chambers is filled with proposed legislative measures from previous throne speeches delivered to this chamber. In any event, with general elections on the horizon, the government elected by the common will of the people will have the opportunity to offer to the nation its legislative agenda on the opening of the new parliament after general elections. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, I commence this address by referring to electoral matters. It is fitting that I come to a close on that subject. It cannot have gone unnoticed that with each passing electoral cycle, political campaigning to remain in office or be elected to office seems to commence far ahead of the eventual dissolution of Parliament. The uncertainty over election dates does not fully explain this phenomenon, but it can also encourage it. Some have argued that the system is manifestly unfair as the incumbent party has the advantage of surprise. These days, that argument can hardly stand scrutiny as electoral preparations have become rather public. There can be no doubt that impending elections can add to uncertainty and indecision by investors, be they domestic or foreign. Investors often prefer to wait on the outcome of general elections to make investment decisions. Of course, it does not follow that if fixed election dates are introduced, the tendency to early campaigning for general elections will cease. But the argument about fairness cannot be totally dismissed. It was once thought that fixed election dates were inconsistent with the parliamentary system of governance that we inherited from Westminster. This view has now been discarded by none other than the United Kingdom Parliament, the cradle of Westminster conventions and practices. That country's parliament has now enacted what it has described as a fixed-term Parliaments Act. My government has noted this development with considerable interest and will also consider the enactment of legislation to introduce fixed election dates. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, si c'est pour nous développer le pays, pour du bout à ce compte nous parmi les autres, c'est pour nous connaître qui moun nous est, côté nous sorti, qui côté nous voulons vivre. C'est pour nous connaître force nous et faiblesse nous. C'est pour nous développer confiance nous, imagination nous, conviction nous. C'est pour nous cultiver nous, apprécier patrimoine national nous, chérir l'héritage national nous. À nous applaudir progrès nous avons fait, mais à nous bâtir à sous fondation cela. À nous encourager tout ça qui a essayé bâtir ces institutions qui a mené l'honneur et succès du pays by people. And to conclude, Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, in proroguing one session of Parliament and opening a new session, we signal that we commence another chapter of our lives, of our journey together, as a nation and as a people. One of our distinguished poets, Adrian Auger, reminds us that, and I quote him, "The eventual journey of our lives together should be more than a trip, a passage, a mere physical movement through space and changing times. It must also be a spiritual movement, gathering experience, growing in knowledge, acquiring new wisdom and understanding. As a nation, our collective journey is a process of advancement towards our full potential. Such is the insistence of our motto, the land, the people, the light. Such is our statement of ascending faith, of abiding confidence, of determination that we should always rise, aspire, and journey forward and upward toward enlightenment," unquote. As we stand in tribute to our island, let us, as Adrian says, seek out the very best in ourselves and in our neighbor, to acknowledge our progress as one people, as a nation in the world of nations, and in so doing, shine our light so bright that it sustains us in this moment and serve to inspire all coming generations, unquote. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, and with the poignant and touching words of Adrian Auger resonating in our minds, it is now my distinct pleasure to formally declare open this 6th session of the 10th Parliament of St. Lucia. I thank you.
And there you have it, the official opening, and in grand flair and grand style, the Governor General of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Dame Pearlette Louisy, presenting copies of the throne speech to the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Assembly. It was a very profound moment in our St. Lucian history with the 2016 throne speech, and I'm very anxious to hear your thoughts on what stood out to you, Kiba and Marilyn.
One of the points that actually initially stood out for me is, and it's also done in reference to what you mentioned earlier in terms of what was referenced last year, the individual responsibility of us as citizens in terms of what is our exact role being played in the development of our nation. And this was, of course, emphasized in this year's throne speech as well. The idea of responsible execution of our franchise as individuals through going out through this electoral process, which we are expecting. So this was one of the points that actually definitely stood out for me in this presentation today.
Eh bien, quand nous venons en finissement, go Powell, gouverneur général là, examen plié main, il a adressé tout Saint-Lucien, ça qui a parlé anglais, comme ça qui a parlé créole. Et puis il y en a des bagailles là, il commence et puis là, il dit à nous célébrer quand nous comme Saint-Lucien, ça nous ni la grâce de Dieu, j'amène nous ensemble aujourd'hui. Et puis quand il a sous nous pour célébrer, il parlait de ces jeunesse là en sport, quelle manière yo j'ai fait et puis yo mené am loga avec nous en Saint-Lucie. Et puis il parlait de plusieurs les autres, Alicia, comme ça on va continuer.
Yes, I am very wowed by the speech. In fact, we had some very exciting announcements coming out of this year's throne speech, including that a fourth judge has been appointed to the criminal division of the High Court to deal solely with remand cases to reduce the amount of people who are on remand, and so that can get settled because that has always been a concern. Her Excellency also spoke to the need for judicial review of our current justice system, and she did indicate that that will be dealt with in the 2016-2017 cycle. And I know the legal fraternity will be quite happy to hear that next week there will be the commencement of construction on the House of Justice. It is a court complex which will be located on the Millennium Highway. And also the arts community is not forgotten because Her Excellency did mention the commitment to the development of the creative industries with the building of a new national complex for the performing arts. It will be the new National Cultural Center, and I know for a fact that our arts community is very excited about that. And also you heard the announcement of the National Museum, which will be housed at the what was then known as the Married Women's Quarters at VG, you know, at the back of VG when you're going around there. That is where the National Museum will be located, and it is not something that is a pipe dream. Consultations have started on all of these projects, and in fact some of them are at very advanced stages, like the House of Justice is at an advanced stage with the construction commencing next week. We have the National Museum, which is into the second or third phase. I think bids have been sent out for the construction of that facility as well.
And it also proves to be a very symbolic, I should say, location in terms of housing of our National Museum, because it is a historical location in itself, one which of course describes to the duality of our heritage as a people. One of the other points which also jumped out at me in terms of her presentation was the note that as a collective group of people, no matter how small, we have the ability to make impact on our environment, on our surroundings. And she actually used a quote which I, of course, really loved, stating that one should never doubt that a small group of people, of thoughtful, committed citizens, can change the world. And indeed, that is the only thing which ever has. And that, in fact, was, of course, a direct reference to the role that our island played in terms of the Paris talks for the future development of the environmental nature of our planet.
Ok, l'autre bagay la qui moi tan gouverneur général parler d'élection, nous en saison élection, et puis ça c'est un bagay qui tout partout à présent et qui ka kouya sous nous Saint-Lucien et puis ces politiciens pour vivre en la vie qui civile, pour respecter yon a l'autre, pour assurer, pour comporter koyo bien, pour ni responsabilité en qualité parole yo ka di, peut-être ça yo ka servi à sous plateforme yo, ça yo ka servi à sous radio, ça yo ka servi en talk show yo, pour respecter yon a l'autre et puis pour comporter koyo et puis assurer qui y fait à dans situation qui civile. Il aussi parler di il bay qui va parler à sous petit test nous, il dit petit test pas maladie et puis nous parler du changement temps côté ministre pour affaires d'Iwab t'es allé en France représenter et puis qualité manière affecter la vie pas Saint-Lucien tout seul mais la vie au lion la terre qui manière nous ça servi moins l'huile en situation pour nous ça couper sur l'homme chalet qui en la terre. Il y a aussi nos corruption à sous manière pour nous ça vivre la vie nous en tant qu'avini comme Saint-Lucien manière pour nous ça comporter comme nous et puis pour nous ça chéri y en a l'autre respecter y en a l'autre chéri y en a l'autre et puis applaudir pour que nous gens fait dans pays et puis ben nous force et puis courage pour nous ça continuer travailler ensemble.
And of course, Marilyn, on the point that she made in terms of the Governor General speaking on the election process, she did in fact, of course, make reference to the possible consideration of fixed election dates, and that was one. I'm sure we received quite an interesting reaction within the grouping present here today on the possible consideration of those fixed dates for future electoral proceedings.
On the topic of election matters, I think what really stood out for me was when Her Excellency appealed to every single St. Lucian to let their behavior match the maturity of our country during this election season. So the social media posts, the threads, how how we interact, as Marilyn said, on the talk shows, etc., and especially when we go to the ballot boxes, that we should be doing that as a mature country, as a mature individual. Viewers, listeners, thank you so very much. This has been a wonderful, wonderful broadcast. We thank you so very much for joining us. We have Marilyn Hyacinth, Kiba Taliam, and I am Alicia Ali, inviting you to stay tuned to RSL 97 and, of course, the National Television Network. Thank you so very much.